falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. Out of control, you don't know me. I'm a danger to myself. Out of control.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Welcome everyone. If you're new here, thank you for clicking on this video. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you stick around and choose to subscribe by the end of it, or maybe by the middle of it, or shit, maybe right now. Why not? It's free, right? And to all of my current subscribers, thank you guys so much for sticking around and taking a chance on me, and also for being patient, because it's been quite a bit since I've put out a video. Normally I am rocking them out every week, but lots of family-ish going on at my house right now. And yes, I'm wearing glasses today. It's kind of a change. I'm not even dealing with my contacts, and it's hot as balls in my garage right now. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial. So, without further ado, let's get into video 4, because I actually have 9 scripts for videos. So, and we're not even done with the trial yet. So, we need to get crack-a-lackin'. I have been not slacking. I have been very, very busy with some family issues, kid health issues, and it's just been a little bit crazy. And you know, my motto, family first, and a lot of you guys completely understand that because you are parents yourself. So thank you so much for understanding. So video 4. All right. Now this video may be a bit of a trigger for some people, more than some of the other ones, because with the exception of 1 or 2 other videos that I have planned, this video will be covering some of the more sensitive pieces of the trial. And in this video, we're going to be talking about mental illness and 2 main disorders, but things that AH has been diagnosed with. So I believe, I guess that's just a trigger warning. If you're not wanting to hear about any mental illness and things like that, then feel free to skip this one. So I believe that these diagnoses are very important to discuss, because while they are certainly not any kind of excuse for any type of anybody's behavior, they will give insight to certain allegations that have been made about AH and the way a person with these disorders' brain functions. It's much different than the normal mind. To be completely honest, you don't even have to know AH personally to recognize that she does have many of these traits, of these diagnoses that she has been quote-unquote diagnosed with. You can hear it on the audio tapes. You can see it during the trial while other people are testifying, and she's sitting there making certain faces and gestures and mimicking people, the way she's dressing. After, Johnny will wear something, the next day she's wearing something. These are all kind of symptoms and, things that go on when someone has these disorders. And you can certainly see it now while she is on the stand testifying for herself. So it was said that Amber, I'm going to say AH. I keep accidentally saying her name, but it can get flagged. So AH had some mental illness diagnosis, and in the past, there were certain things that she had been diagnosed with, and now we have some other stuff. Now, I'm really glad that I waited to put this out. I didn't plan to wait to put this out. This was supposed to be out a long time ago, but after I had a chance to watch AH on the stand, I'm kind of glad that this is coming out after, because I had already had the script typed up, and I wanted to see if if we could notice any of these traits while she was up there testifying. And once I point these things out to you, I feel like if you look at her testifying, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So, here we go. So documents were shown in court showing that AH had been diagnosed in the past as suffering from anxiety, an eating disorder, ADHD, bipolarity, and codependency issues, bipolarity being bipolar disorder. So a licensed clinical psychologist by the name of Dr. Shannon Curry testified last week, and she just owned AH's lawyer while she was up on this stand. Amber's lawyer asked several times and made a huge deal about whether or not Dr. Shannon Curry was board certified in psychology. So she stated she is a licensed forensic psychologist, and she testified in court that she was not board certified, but that she was licensed in forensic psychology and that she had been working for over 15 years in the field. So what did I do? What I do best. I went digging, and I wanted to see what the importance was of being, board certified in psychology rather than just licensed. I obviously knew that board certified is a higher credential to hold, but I wanted to see what what the big difference is. Is there that much of a difference? And the information that I found was that psychologists, unlike physicians, really don't have a big benefit of being board certified. It's basically just another hoop for them to jump through and just another, notch in their belt, so to speak. It doesn't appear necessary from what I have found. Basically, what I found is it doesn't really matter if a psychologist is board certified or not. It matters how long they've been practicing and basically how good they are. And I don't care if AH's psychologist was board certified and Johnny Depp's was not. All I know is professionally on the stand, Dr. Shannon Curry wiped the floor with Dr. Dawn Hughes in every way. I was clapping for her, actually. I was like, oh, girl, you go. Her composure and her lack of allowing herself to be rattled on the stand by AH's lawyer, Elaine. Oh my gosh, if I have to listen to Elaine's voice any longer, you guys, please. Her final diagnosis for AH is borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. Now, let me briefly explain those to anyone who doesn't know what those disorders are. Borderline personality disorder is a mental health disorder that impacts the way you think and feel about yourself and others, causing problems functioning in everyday life. It includes self-image issues, difficulty managing emotions and behavior, and a pattern of unstable relationships. With borderline personality disorder, you have an intense fear of abandonment or instability, and you may have difficulty tolerating being alone. And we see this and we hear this from people who have testified about AH. She had she did not want to be left at all. She had moments of severe insecurity and crying spells. And, whenever Johnny would leave and go to film something, she needed to have him there. And even in an argument, she would escalate things in order to keep him from leaving. So she did have that fear of abandonment. It's very clear. Yet inappropriate anger is another trait. Impulsiveness and frequent mood swings may push others away, even though you want to have a loving and lasting relationship. It's almost like you're not aware of what you're doing, and you're making a situation toxic without even realizing that it's your fault. So borderline personality disorder usually begins by early adulthood. And the condition seems to be worse in young adulthood and may gradually get better with age. They say that. I think a lot of it is recognizing that there's a problem and getting a diagnosis. And actually accepting that diagnosis and wanting to learn how to manage it better. Because these are personality disorders. These are not necessarily a mental illness. So there's not a medication that can really help, a lot of these symptoms. I mean, if you're having a lot of anxiety, you can be prescribed something for anxiety. If you're having issues sleeping and that. But for the actual personality disorder, this is something that you actually have to learn how to manage and how to change the way you're thinking in certain situations so that you can be aware of how you're responding to other people. So if you're not going to accept that you have this, you're not going to ever really grow from it, in my opinion. It's not something that I think you can just grow out of, but I do think that, once hormones kind of settle and things like that, maybe it might be better, but whatever. Let's keep going. So, histrionic personality disorder is also commonly referred to as a cluster B or dramatic personality disorder. And people with these two types of disorders have intense, unstable emotions and distorted self-images. So they may appear to have it all together and be kind of even stuck up and like, I'm all that, whatever. But really inside, they don't feel that way. They're very insecure. So for people with histrionic personality disorder, their self-esteem depends on the approval of others and does not arise from a true feeling of self-worth. So they're very dependent on other people and approval of other people. And so if, she's on the stand, she's testifying that, Johnny Depp would say things to her like, oh, you're going to take that role, and, she would take that as such a hard criticism that it might spin her and set her off, like being talked to like that, So I can kind of see where some of the things she's coming from, but in many cases, people with histrionic personality disorder have good social skills. However, they tend to use these skills to manipulate others so that they can be the center of attention. Some symptoms of this disorder are being uncomfortable unless they are the center of attention, acting very dramatically as though performing before an audience with exaggerated emotions and expressions, yet appears to lack sincerity. Now, anyone who's been watching this trial so far and has seen AH testify, this is acting, I'm going to read it again, acting very dramatically as though performing in front of an audience, exaggerated emotions and expressions, yet appears to lack sincerity. She's sobbing, she's crying, she's explaining these things, she's squeezing her eyes and, wiping her face, but yet there's no sincerity, there's no tears. There's no, she's playing a character. And I really feel like she is. In her mind, she's playing a character. She's on set when she goes to court. And that's my opinion. I feel like she's actually separated herself from the person who is actually on the witness stand and the person that sits in court watching other witnesses testify. I don't feel like in her mind, she is her. She is acting a part. They will constantly seek reassurance or approval, be excessively sensitive to criticism or disapproval, as we've seen when, she explains some of these things that he said to her. I don't know what I believe of hers. I mean, there are certain things that she says that I believe her, but there is so much that I do not believe. Like I said, I feel she's playing a part. But when he does say anything disapproving, she would take that very, very to heart, and it would possibly trigger her to get pretty ticked off. They have a low tolerance for frustration, and they can be easily bored by routine, often beginning projects without finishing them or skipping from one event to another. Not thinking before acting, making rash decisions, having difficulty maintaining relationships, often seeming fake or shallow in their dealings with others. They are self-centered and rarely show concern for others, and they threaten to unalive themselves to get attention. After this testimony that she has so far put on, and she's not done yet, she's only on day 2 of being on the stand, it's completely clear to me what went on in this relationship, if it is true. My opinion is that it is true. I am very familiar with borderline personality diagnosis, and I don't even know AH, and based off of the material evidence that we've been given in this trial, that diagnosis fits to a T, again, in my opinion. Histrionic personality disorder, on the other hand, I never heard of until this trial, but I did look it up. I looked up several different sources, and from what I have read on it, I can see where the diagnosis would come from in this case. And I've seen that these 2 diagnoses are typically occurring together. And it would certainly fit the audio that we have heard and the way that she talks to Johnny Depp during an argument. And you know, if AH were in fact suffering from these 2 disorders that I explained, these conditions would have become so ingrained in her that, like I said before, she would have accepted them as completely normal and had no, desire to change anything, because for her, she would never be able to grasp the reality that she's the one that's in the wrong. These personality disorders can be dealt with and managed with proper therapy, but one would certainly have to be open to receiving that therapy, like I said, in order to both understand what they're dealing with these disorders and to learn how to deal with them. And again, I want to remind you that all of this is alleged at this time. This was the testimony of one licensed forensic psychologist. AH has her own, who will be testifying, Dr. Dawn Hughes. But either way, it's alleged at this point. So there's a video out there where AH has been compared with Amy Dunn in a movie titled Gone Girl. And I don't know if you guys have seen this movie or not. I did, but I saw it like when it first came out years and years and years ago. So I'm going to try to remember to put the link in the description box for, not the movie, but for the video where they are kind of comparing the 2. And it's crazy because they are so alike in this way. And it really kind of makes you think, was this planned? Was this something that this a strategic, plan, of hers all along, and I don't know that it was, but it very well could have been. So, and in this video, the creator outlines, it's a YouTube, so in this video, creator outlines a series of things that Amy Dunn does in order to frame her husband, who's played by Ben Affleck, and talks about the similarities in what Amy did to what AH has done and is doing to Johnny Depp. And some of the similarities are like staging the scene, successfully making people hate him, faking injuries, making false claims and false documents, having an unpleasant relationship with his sister, staging 911 calls, issues with exes, intentionally playing victim to get sympathy, staging house damages. I mean, a lot of these things have been in the trial, and, a lot of things have been said to be staged or said to just never have happened. So I'm going to put that link in the description box because if you want to check it out, it threatening to ruin his life, loving attention, even like knowing about, like CCTV and cameras, hidden camera, and, using them in a misleading way, saying that she sent emails that she never sent. I mean, hiding behind movements that are dedicated to real survivors and real victims, which is not only insulting, but it also is very damaging to the credibility of people that have real DV claims. I mean, this is almost like the very movement says she was trying to help it's the whole reason why it exists to begin with, is because people who make these false claims, right? So anyway, she was a very controlling partner, and when she couldn't control him anymore, she decided to control the narrative. He told her that that was it. that he had had enough and that he wanted a divorce, and she ran and filed first and then created this narrative that destroyed his life, and not only his, but made his children's lives very difficult as well. Yet AH just walks around as if that doo-doo she took in Johnny Depp's bed doesn't stink. My opinion, she was a predator. Just because she was the female in this does not mean that she's any different than if a man were to have been doing these things to a female. And I don't understand, listening to this audio, listening to her in general, listening to other people testify. If this were flipped the other way around, it would be a totally different story. She sought out someone that she could manipulate and that she could control. And that's typically what people with these diagnoses do, even if it's subconsciously. In my opinion, but also, you can read up on it. It's kind of it's a symptom. So, just look at her behavior throughout this whole case, starting from the very beginning, the divorce, up until now. Johnny Depp was a man who, on all accounts, people have said was going through some type of midlife crisis when he met Amber and AH. Here's this younger woman showing, kind of throwing herself at him in a seeming to be perfect in every single way. And in his mind, she was too good for him. My opinion, of course. But I'd like to end, and I'm not saying I think she's too good. I think that's what he felt. Here's this young girl, she's full of life, she's interesting, and she likes a lot of the same things as me, yet she's young and she's carefree. And, he's 48, she's 25. Trust me, I'm in my 40s. I'm thinking like, oh man, I would love to be in my 20s again, but know what I know now, So I think it was kind of a breath of fresh air at the beginning for him. And, but I'd like to end this video saying that just because Johnny Depp is the male in this relationship, it does not make him the perpetrator by default. It would be easy to fix your perception if you simply look at all of this evidence and think of Johnny Depp as the female in the situation and AH as the male. What would you think then? Who would be the perpetrator? Who would be the instigator? Who had the upper hand in this relationship? And did AH ever have a reason to fear Johnny Depp? That's all for this video. I'm going to be rolling right into video 5, and see you then. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you learned something from this video, just go ahead and give it a like. It's not going to hurt you. And, if you hated it, then thumbs down, I guess. But, that's just stupid. It's a waste of your time. Just hit the one next to it. The one that looks like this. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.